Study session of the Aurora City Council for Monday, October 14, 2024 is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Bergen. Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Hancock.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo. Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Zavanek.
There is no mayor updates. Are there any issue updates? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving the consent calendar forward, item number 2A through 2I?
Mayor,
Councilmember Lawson.
can I just pull 2A and 2C just for some comments?
2A and 2C.
See?
Very well. Is there any objection to moving the consent calendar forward, item number 2B and item number 2D through 2I? Is there any objection? Seeing none, then that will move forward. Item number 2A. Would you want staff to give a presentation, a brief presentation on item number 2A?
Actually, I just kind of wanted to make a comment.
Oh, please.
And then,
Okay.
I mean, staff wants to address some questions. I just have a comment on this. Is that okay?
Please.
Do so? Okay. So I just want to say that this particular Peruvian restaurant is something different for Ward 5. And I'm very happy and pleased with how this deal was done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this 2A? What's the wrong? Okay, please proceed. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I wanted to say that the way this deal was made,
Oh,
we
I'm
have
looking at the wrong one.
the tenant and we have the owner of the location of where this is going to be, which is going to be at 17200 East Iliff Avenue, Unit A5 in the Buckley Square Shopping Center, is a great model for other businesses to come into our city, and especially in developments like mine where we have a lot of great restaurants, but this is going to be a really good addition. So I'm very pleased to say that I'm really excited about this. This is in a great location, which I think it's going to get a lot of business. And I think that just the model that they did with the tenant and along with with our city staff, of course, negotiating this, I think this will be a good model for the future, and I hope that we get more restaurants like this in Ward 5. So with that being said, I hope that my colleagues will support this moving forward, and I don't know if you have any other questions, or if Andrea, thank you so much, and Tom as well, if you have any questions or comments that you want to add to this.
I stand corrected. I had the wrong agenda for October 14th, October 28th. Wake up. Okay, so are there any further questions on item number 2A? Is there any objection to moving item 2A forward? Very well. Item number 2C.
Okay, Councilmember Lawson, Ward 5 again. This particular effort is to just realign our efforts with youth violence prevention. We have done several iterations of this youth violence prevention since 2022. And I'm not saying anything about the nonprofits. I think that they have done some things. However, with some of the measurements I have seen, I think that there's been some questions I've had about those measurements and what has been produced by a lot of the nonprofits. It has been decided that we will not be giving any more nonprofit money to the nonprofits that we've been giving in the past. And that's not to say any ding on those nonprofits. I just think that we need to go a different direction. And what this particular resolution talks about is realignment and working with our city partners and also our governmental partners, which is our school districts. So Aurora Public Schools, as well as Cherry Creek Public Schools, in addition to working with the JAC. And I think the JAC has been working with us for a couple years, and they're very important to the nexus of the school districts because they can actually, the referrals can come from these schools to go to the JAC and then get these type of resources that these, the youth need.
And the JAC is Juvenile Assessment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Juvenile Assessment Center, I forgot, sorry, Mayor. So this is what this is about, just to kind of realign these resources for the marijuana funding to go with more of our school districts, as I think they know these kids. I think that there's been, they know the families, they know what these kids need. I think having it go in this direction, to call this 3.0, is a try that I want to see if we can maybe decrease youth violence in a more, in another way as well. We did get the $2 million federal funding for the SAFE, so I think that that's good in terms of filling this gap as well. I do want to say to our city staff, though, once, I don't know if we have to do IGAs or if we have to do something with the IGAs, but once those IGAs start, I would like to say from that point, when those IGAs are signed, the next year that the city council gets a report on the measurements. And I don't know if that needs to be stipulated in the IGA, but I would think that it is, because I think that's going to be important to see if we need to continue or not. I'm still an advocate for and passion for youth violence prevention, but if this is not going to work, then we need to think about putting funding other ways. And so I really want to make sure that this IGA is for the year and that we get an update and those measurements. And I would like to know in the, maybe from somebody, what would those measurements look like in that IGA? What are we looking for to determine success, the metrics? So I think that that's going to be really important to understand and to be able to explain to constituents, and also too for us to see if we're going in the right direction. So with that being said, I just would hope that my colleagues would support this resolution moving forward at this study session and also at the next city council meeting. And if you have any questions for me or city staff, please ask.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, and I'm supportive of this proposal. My name needs to be removed from it. I'm supportive of it, and I assisted on it, but it's Councilmember Lawson's proposal. And so, yes, Councilmember Hancock.
I just wanted to add just a little comment on this. I'm concerned that the current state of the youth violence prevention program is not meeting our full expectations just by the reporting that does not exist at this time. And I fully support transitioning the program to the parameters that you have specified, Councilmember Lawson, to the Aurora Public Schools, Cherry Creek School District, and the Juvenile Assessment Center. These are established institutions that have daily contact with the youth and are well positioned to identify and support these at-risk youths before they become a problem. I think we need to be taking a more holistic approach, because it's more than just kids. Kids act out because of family dynamics, stressors that are external, gang activity and recruitment, those kind of things. And when kids act out, it's usually something else going on. So since they're around the kids every day, they kind of know what is happening and probably and more likely to identify at-risk behavior before it becomes a problem. And for the YVPP to be effective, it must deliver measurable, meaningful outcomes. And by that, I mean we need to have specific metrics, not just statistics that are nebulous that we don't understand. They need to be achieved within the next calendar year, to your point, to determine whether or not this program is going to succeed. And I think before it even is initiated, we should have these metrics outlined. We should know exactly where we're going, how we're going to get there, and then we need to have a timely reporting on how this is going. It shouldn't be just, money going down the drain, and then a year later we get this glossy report that doesn't tell us anything. I would like to see a quarterly report so that if things are going sideways, if they're not going the way we want them to go, we can make adjustments. I think it's really important because as stewards of the city's money and this grant money that we're getting, we want to have measurable outcomes that are meaningful, because these youth at risk, if we're not actually doing things that are meaningful, that'll make them, or compel them or guide them into better behaviors to be good citizens, then we're going to have criminal activity, and either way we're going to pay. So I believe it's important for us to, look at this holistically, meaningfully, have strategic outcomes and metrics in place so that we know what's happening. I feel like, these nonprofit organizations, the boxing and the other things, they're great programs, but I don't know that they're getting to the root of the problem. And so we just kind of need to take another look at it. And I believe that as we establish these clear guidelines, that it'll give us a better framework to make this be a success. And then at the end of next year, then you can take another look at it and say, okay, is this achieving the outcome that we wanted? And if not, then we really need to do make the hard choice of doing something else.
Okay.
Mayor, can I just make a comment? I agree with that. I think that's a good comment that you've made, and as suggestion. Maybe we should do the quarterly reports, and then at the end, it should be a final report.
So I think that one of the things we could do in the short run, because I think there are several programs that already are ongoing. There's a SAVE program, there's the Juvenile Assessment Center, the JAC, and then there's one with Cherry Creek Schools, it's called Leadership. I'm trying to remember the name.
Each schools has their own programs, I think, to try and identify.
We fund
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, we do fund.
And
yeah.
so what this is a big rewrite of what we've been doing. And what Councilmember Lawson is essentially saying is we have some programs that work, that like the Juvenile Assessment Center, that are credible, and the new SAVE program. We should have briefings on those programs in study session just as we go forward, just so that we know what they're doing. But beyond that, I think what's important is that we work with our school districts, not giving them a blank check, but very specific programs, because they're in position to really identify young people at risk. And not only that, they're in a position to track them year over year, which we didn't, in working with the nonprofits we've been working with, really didn't have that capability. And then, there's a lot of self-reporting going on that in terms of how they were doing that. So I think I certainly hear you in terms of having really solid objective metrics to evaluate that on. But I think we can certainly do that with our school district partners. So, very well. Any further discussion? Is there any objection to moving 2C forward? Very well. And I'm going to go back, since I have the wrong agenda. Is there any objection to moving item 2B, 2D, and 2B, 2D forward? Seeing none, 2B and 2D of the consent calendar will move forward. Item number 3A, shared micro-mobility licensing program. And that's not part of the consent calendar.
No.
Okay. Councilmember Hancock.
So, Mayor, this is, I know a few years ago we had talked about having the scooters, and a program was initiated to have the scooters in the city, and it kind of fell flat. I just wanted to see what the appetite is for trying to initiate this program again, particularly as it gets warmer, because of course in the winter we don't do it very much, but I mean, what is our appetite to look at this with the revisions that are proposed? And I wanted to see what the temperature was. And so I'm going to let, who's behind me? Scott. There you are, Scott. Go ahead and talk a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Scott Bauman. I am your parking manager within Public Works. This is a quick shared mobility license program update. I co-managed a program with Tom Wicker-Braddock from Transportation Planning, and this is for informational purposes only. So why we're here is it's been a couple years. So last time we had scooter operations in Aurora was 2 years ago. And at the moment, I do have an application on my desk awaiting another operator that wants to come into town. So Tom and I were kind of going through our current rules, regulations, policies, and wanted to update them from lessons learned and stuff like that. So we're going to go over a little bit about the program itself and a quick overview, a little bit of history about micromobility in Aurora. Talk about our parking restrictions, since that's always a hot topic. Some proposed program policy modifications to our rules and regulations, and have a discussion and feedback. So shared micromobility, right? So it's a mode of transportation that involves a small single occupancy transportation device, ideal for short distance point-to-point trips, providing customers the ability to pick up around the device from one location and leaving it in another within a service district, which in our case would be Aurora. They can either be docked or undocked. And examples would be like e-bikes, e-scooters, it could be skateboards, it could be segways, it could be, adult tricycle, adult big wheels type of stuff. So at one point, even in San Francisco, had pogo sticks as a shared mobility program. I don't think it lasted very long, though. So we have a comprehensive rules and regulations for our program. We put this together a couple years ago. It has 9 topics that we have put together from current conditions, lessons learned, industry standards. We took policies and regulations from all different programs across the country. How it works is the operators actually apply to be a vendor in the city, so there's no RFP, there's no solicitation, there's no us reaching out for this type of service. The operators apply, they're vetted, they get a 1-year license to operate in the right-of-way. There's operator performance reviews, they're monitored. We have real-time data feeds with the, a dashboard from the vendor, as well as we have a third party. Dr. Cog has a subscription service that can track in real time these devices, where they've gone, how long they're being rented for, what's the duration, how many miles are they going, stuff like that. We do have when we had an operators, we had regular meetings that are required. Citizens, if they have a complaint, there's a scooter in my yard, we encourage them to contact the operator themselves. Not really, we just issue a license to operate in the right-of-way. We don't actively manage the on-street operations of the operator. And renewals happen every year, so 1-year license, and we look at it. Is the operator been a good operator, a good partner with us? Are transportation goals being met? Stuff like that is before the license is renewed. A little bit of quick history. So we started off in fall of 2017 with bike share. So we were kind of one of the industry, we were one of the first people in Colorado to actually do this. So we permitted, not licensed, we permitted OFO, Lime, and Spin. Spin never deployed here in Aurora. In 2018, OFO just dropped out, just kind of left. And I think they had like a 1 day where they tried to pick up some of their bikes, and the next day they were gone off the grid completely. 2019, so in that time, bikes, if you remember, if you were here, the bikes were just kind of never really used. They were just kind of all around. And so Tom and I got together and we said, we like this program, but we got to define the policies. We got to kind of bring it together and tighten up how these devices are being used in the city. So we developed this, we expanded at the time, a bike share program, and now it's a shared mobility license program. 2019 to current, we put out applications. So in May of 21, Bird became licensed and began operations, but they departed a little over a year later in August of 22. This is kind of the ridership that happened when Bird was here. To the left, you can see they kind of started off, they kind of peaked up at like 2,300 or 3,300 rentals. Then you see a dip that comes down, right? That's the winter dip, right? So these operators like to right-size their operations. They know there's not a lot of ridership in the winter, so they kind of pull devices off the street. So there's a dip, and in the spring it starts coming back up again. There's kind of a weird anomaly in May. I think at that point they started pulling their devices off the streets. They knew that they were going to be departing Aurora here, and then in August 3rd or so, they actually departed Aurora. So our rules and regulations, this packet we put together has 9 areas of concentration. We stipulate exactly, what we want to see from operator, right? There's safety requirements, like the devices need to have a phone number, your name on there, how do the device number, where to ride, rules of the road, stuff like that. We have the service area requirements. We require the operators to be in Northwest Aurora and be within 2 miles of the light rail station, the light rail corridor up down 225. We have explicit parking requirements about where they're supposed to park, where they're supposed to put the devices. We have geo-fencing capabilities, so we can block out an area. For instance, the Fitzsimmons campus, they didn't want, it's private property, they didn't want devices on their campus, so we can actually geo-fence and prohibit scooters from going inside there on their property. We could do that in specific corners, we can do that specific locations if there's issues. And we'll talk a little bit more about parking requirements in a future slide. It's definitely a hot topic as far as these type of operations. We have operational requirements, we want 24/7 support. We want to be able to, and the customer to call and ask for service or get help or stuff like that. There's rebalancing. The rebalancing is taking that random scooter that's in a weird place, picking it up and putting it back next to a transit station, stuff like that. So that's what rebalancing means. Equity plans, how do they service the unbanked customers? How do they service people that don't have smartphones that they can rental, stuff like that? So you have to have a plan for that. Fleet size. So we determine the fleet size and the number of operators that are allowed in the city. So we say there's a minimum number of scooters, maximum. We put a cap on that. If we feel like there's too many operators in the city, we can just say, no, we're not open to more operators. We have community engagement and education. So we want the vendors to do outreach programs to help educate these riders on safety aspects, as well as, getting their constituents to sign up for the program, so forth. There's strict reporting requirements. We want to know how many rentals, how many miles are they doing this? How long is the rental? Where are they going? So we require them to report back to us all these important data that can help us define the program moving forward. We have insurance requirements and indemnification requirements that are pretty strict, right? So hold this harmless, as well as specific have this on their insurance certs as well. And we have fee requirements. So there's a fleet size, depending on how many scooters they want to bring in. There's a one-time license fee. There's the infrastructure fee. So every time a scooter is rented in Aurora, we get a little bit of a cut for that. There's operator reserve. We ask for basically a deposit to kind of help us, it's a lesson learned from OFA, right, when they departed. So we ask, at the moment, a $25,000 deposit that allows us, we can draw against that if we need to go around and, hire a vendor to pick up devices if they just, cease operation overnight. And we have violations. We have the ability to write them a citation, and a citation for not being a good partner. If they're not responsive to our needs, we have the ability to write a citation to them. Going back, so parking restrictions. So we require vendors to give us their plan. Like, how do you get your customers to properly park and be a good, rider in our cities? We encourage our vendors to have incentives and disincentives, to encourage proper parking compliance. We can set up designated parking areas. So if there's, we can paint a parking box, and we can geolocate where a session has to end within this box or in this location. So those are some of the tools in our toolbox that we can deploy if there's certain areas or certain locations that have parking problems. And we have clear guidelines on where devices are supposed to be parked, not on corners, not in driveways, not in ADA ramps and ADA designated routes and so forth like that, not on sidewalks. We require 6-foot clearance, and as we mentioned before, there's a fine if they're not properly working with us to address these needs that are occurring. This is a little bit about some of the education, right? On the left is your ideal parking location. Obviously, the vendor kind of staged these, there, but we want them next to bike racks. The other 3 slides next to it, these are actually in the app. So when you rent a device, you're going to see this. You have to go through kind of rules and regulations before you can take a scooter out. It's going to tell you the rules of the road, where you're supposed to park, how you're supposed to park. So that's in their rental agreement. It's also a reminder for each user as they, before they start a session and take off in a scooter or a device. Some of the policies, some of the lessons learned, some of the things we want to do. So right now, how it's set up is we say you have a minimum of 100 scooters or 100 devices and a maximum of 500. So your license between 100 and 500, and we're proposing to kind of bring that down, and that cap down to 300. And within that fleet size, we want to take it to 100 to 300. We also want to readjust everything. So there's a category for 501 to 1,000 scooters and 1,001 to 2,000 scooters. We want to right size that down a little bit. So the proposal is for, 100 to 300, and that's your initial number of scooters you're allowed. You're not allowed to bring in 400, 500. The initial permit is just for that amount, and you need to demonstrate, if you want to bring in more scooters, you need to demonstrate to us that those scooters are being utilized. So it's like, show us the reports. Is the average fleet being rented 3 or 4 times a day? Or is it just rented once a day? So if you want the ability to bring in more scooters, you got to show us that they're being used. We also want to increase the infrastructure fee amount. Right now, it's 3 cents a rental. We want to bring that up to 5 cents. That's common in the industry. Bigger, more populated areas like Denver will have like 10, 15 cents per rental, but ours is kind of nominal. And right now, we want to lower the operator amount, the operator fee amount, the deposit that they need to submit to us that we hold on hand in case they just, drop off the face of the earth and we never see them again, and we need some funds to address their issues on the street. And we're just looking for some discussion, and
Mayor?
I'll give us your thoughts.
Councilmember Jaworski?
So the going from the 5 cents to the 3 cents, I'm
three-
sorry,
oh, we want
the
3
3
cents
cents
to
to the 5 cents, that is what that comes to the city.
That comes to us, yes.
Okay,
So
and
every
so-
rental, we get a cut.
Yeah, and so it looks like we had this program going from September of 2017, which is pretty late in the year, until the summer of 2019, halfway through the year. Do we have any idea what that revenue was that was brought in 2018, a full year?
No, I can come back with you. I don't have I have the specifics, absolutely. I can get
Okay.
back to you with those
Yeah,
those
I
numbers.
would
It's
like
not
to-
very much, we're not getting rich.
That's
So
okay.
all those funds are staying in our special account, they're not going to the general fund, and that's to help with for improvements, bike lanes or help us for the subscription for the third party, stuff like that. So those funds stays within the mobility program to fund future programs. So none of it's been used yet. But it's just because it's a small amount, it's not there yet.
Councilmember Sundberg?
I remember when the bikes came to town a number of years ago. They
Yeah.
were lined up neatly in some certain areas, and soon they were laying all over the damn place. But will they promise to have just maintenance of just driving around and making sure they're parked nicely and recovered from fields and various places?
Great question. So that's the repositioning. That's kind of the genius of the battery-operated devices, right? These batteries, they drain, especially in the weather, cold nights, and so forth. So they have to maintain these devices. In the old days, it was the pedal bikes, right? So those, they were supposed to reposition and reset and re-put them in areas that are desired next to train platforms, stuff like that. So it being electric battery, there's a need to address those things. They have to so they know when it gets to a certain point, 20% on the battery, they got to reposition and find it. So when they collect those devices, they're exchanging out the battery, they're making sure they're maintained. There's nothing, doesn't have a flat tire, something's wobbly. It's not, there's safety issues, stuff like that, and then they'll reposition it to where they should be. So that it happens on a regular basis.
Yeah, I've rented them in a couple cities, and yeah, I know our emergency room doctors don't like the scooters so much, but
Yeah. So what, it surprised me that there's a good market here for this. And particularly if you're going to take out the university, which is
Right.
probably the best area for this, then really, what's the attraction? I'm surprised.
Yes, that's one of the struggles and challenges that Bird had when they were here. They wanted to go, they had conversations with the campus. We've, as well, Tom and I have had conversations with the campus. At the time, years ago, there was just no appetite for that. They felt it was like a safety issue. There's so much activity on their campus, and, they have every right as a private property owner to decide that. So all the operators are eager to get in and have those conversations because that's a desirable location. Northwest location's important, around the Stanley and, down in the corridors was our busiest locations, down 6, down Colfax. And it was our previous history of a lot of usage, for sure.
Councilmember Bergen?
Yes, Mayor, and I apologize, I had difficulty getting on. I'm in a different city. And maybe this was covered, but my question would be regarding, and I mentioned this during the Transportation Policy Committee, the other vendors that we had used that dropped the program, they dropped it because there was not enough usage. So I know this came up in terms of, if those different companies dropped us because of lack of usage, isn't that going to happen again? And then B, just again, I think, and again, I don't remember which council member brought it up in the Transportation Committee, but just leaving these all over the city and then making sure, even though they say they're going to pick them up, will they really do that on a timely basis?
Yeah, great question. So personally, I don't think Aurora is the perfect market for them, absolutely. That's why Bird ended up leaving, is to seek other more probably profitable markets. I don't think we're ideal. We don't have that downtown environment, right? So Denver is really one of the most popular locations in the country for scooter operations. It's very, very viable, and they're a top city. There's a lot of usage in Denver. It's the market. If a vendor wants to come in and take a whack at having operations here, and maybe they can succeed, maybe they don't. As far as addressing the scooters being around, they get repositioned. That's a requirement, and the operators want a successful business as well. They don't like the complaints. They want to move these devices in the locations that are desirable, right? They don't want these things just laying around. So it's to their advantage to move them around, put them on the corners next to the bus stations and transit stations and stuff like that. They don't want them left out on residential corners and stuff like that. So,
but is there a requirement that they have to pick them up within 24 hours?
Yes, we do. It's in our rules and regulations. And I believe it's 24 hours.
Okay, and then if they do not, what is the penalty if they don't?
So we had those conversations. We have kind of a progressive discipline process, right? So we'll talk to them, we'll encourage them. If we need to, we can fine them. And that's one of our tools in our toolbox. And if they're still not a good partner with us, and they're still not abiding by, what our rules and regulations and policies are, then we have the right to pull their license. If you're not going to be a good partner with us.
And what is the fine?
I'm sorry?
What is the fine? What is the fine?
It's a $30 administrative fine. So if, say, I call in and say, I need your help, I need the scooter moved
30?
right now. Yeah, $30 per
Okay, and
occurrence.
that's within that 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay,
Further
and that's per
questions?
day?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That could be per infraction.
Sorry.
That could be per infraction. So if they're not following what our prescribed rules and regulations, if we feel that they're not being aggressive enough on moving, devices, or if they're just not cooperating with us, I can just go back and say, I got a scooter here, I got a scooter here. Here's 10 scooters. They haven't moved in 10 days. 10 days times 30 here, you owe us $300.
Okay,
And
so you would fine them per day?
We could,
Per
yes.
scooter? Well,
Yes.
you could. What are you going to
Yes.
do? What is
We
our
never have.
policy?
We haven't gone down that road yet. Bird was a great partner with us, and we had
Okay.
a great relationship with them. So again, this is
Okay,
a tool
so
in our
I
toolbox.
cannot-
This is like the sledgehammer to go after them if they are not cooperative.
Okay. So I will not support this until there's a policy. Thank
Well,
you.
There is a policy. We can fine them. We can remove their license and tell them
Yeah,
to leave.
but you said we can, but you don't have it defined as to what we actually will do.
But it's a progressive discipline.
I mean-
So we have those conversations, like, why aren't they're a partner with us, so we would work with them to, how can we help? What's going on? Why are you short-staffed? It's a conversation.
What I'm asking, is there a defined policy right now that tells them, if you do not pick up a scooter within 24 hours, we
Yes.
will fine you
Yes.
$30 per day per scooter?
Yes, there's
Okay, so
defined
that's
policy.
in writing?
Yes, it's in
in
our
writing,
rules and
in our
regulations,
agreement.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any objection to moving item number 3A forward? It will move forward, thank you.
The item number 7A, filling the at-large council member vacancy. Katie?
Mayor, council members, Katie Rodriguez, city clerk. So we have an at-large council member vacancy coming up at the end of the month. In the backup, there are 2 different proposed schedules for council to look over and decide upon how they would like to go forward with filling this vacancy. So we're looking for input from council.
Discussion.
Mayor Gardner.
Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to propose an alternative to the 2 schedules that are up there. So what I'd like to propose is we advertise the position tomorrow, I guess, through November 13th. At the November 18th regular council meeting, we would decide on who we're interviewing. On December 2nd, we would do those interviews. The week of December 9th, have a meet and greet with the public. We did a similar process with our last vacancy, and then appoint at the December 16th meeting.
Very well. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Vargan?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's really important that we have full transparency to the public so that they, I've already heard from a lot of people asking, is there an application process? When is it opening and so forth? So I think it's important that we do have the application open for a while and then set up the interviews like we normally do. So I would be in agreement with Councilmember Gardner's proposal.
Mayor.
Pete?
Yeah, from the email that we sent on October 14th, after following Mayor Pro Tem Zvonic's announcement, again, 45 days strictly to the charter would be December 15th, right? So December 16th would be a day late. Obviously, it's your decision. The advice would be, I think, I talked to Mr. Batchelor about this, I think as long as you guys are in the process, you could do that, but technically December 16th would be outside the 45 days. But if you guys choose to do that, that's just what we're saying. That's why the advice was, absent a special meeting, to make the appointment, as Katie had done in her diagram, to do it by December 2nd, if for 100% compliance with the charter.
What is the date again of his?
Yeah, I don't think
October
one day
31.
is going to make a difference.
Okay, October 31?
October 31, so 45 days. We have 45 days according to the charter, Article 3.7. That would be December 15th, which would be the day before Councilmember Gardner's suggestion.
Well, what, is the 16th, what day is that?
It's a Monday.
It's a regular meeting?
Yes.
Day?
And I think with the holidays, again, I don't see us getting any litigation over that, but just to be clear, that's
Yeah, I don't.
what the charter
I
says.
think we're okay.
Mayor?
Councilmember Vargan?
Yeah, the fact that it falls on the weekend, I think we would have the grace of having it one more day.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't conduct business on a Sunday.
we can.
I mean, we could.
Over your house? No.
We're not going to.
Could call a special meeting.
Yeah. Okay, let's see, further discussion? Councilmember
I'm
Summer.
not opposed to it, but I was curious about the meet the public thing. I didn't experience that when I went through the process. Has that always been around?
You went through the process, we were up for 2 a.m. a lot
I
of
kept you
nights.
guys up late.
Over 3 meetings.
And Councilmember Sundberg, we did do a meet and greet for the last vacancy with the public, but I believe it was virtual due to COVID.
That's right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, is there any objection to Councilmember Gardner's proposal? Seeing none, that's the direction we'll take.
Real quick follow-up on just that. Thank you for that. We'll send you guys some more details on the time. We may need to start the meeting on the 2nd where you're proposing to interview a little earlier, just because I think you all will want some time. And obviously, if we're doing a 6:30 regular meeting, a 5:15 start to study, we would not have enough time to get through, I'd say, even 2 interviews. So I think we would potentially start the meeting on the 2nd earlier, just to allow you all enough time, but we'll know how much earlier when you all decide who you want to interview on the 18th.
Okay.
And Mayor, just to be clear, just for Katie's sanity, you guys' direction is how she's outlined it in the backup? want to be clear.
For Schedule 3, right?
Okay.
Got it, okay.
That's where it's going to be.
Okay, good.
And then, just to let you know, it takes about an hour per candidate. So when you're deciding if you want to interview 3, 4, it'll be 3 or 4 hours.
Ouch. Okay.
Also, Mayor Pro Tem appointment. I know that Pete Schulte had put this in his email, but we are recommending that there's an interim Mayor Pro Tem that will be appointed during the November 4th council meeting, and they'll serve till the December 2nd council meeting.
And since we've never done that before, I know I've talked to several of the council members about this process. The reason why it's important right now is because Compensation Evaluation Committee for the other council appointees are going to be happening during that time period in the month of November. So it's up to you all. You guys don't have to pick an interim mayor pro tem, but it at least would give my other fellow council appointees at least a full committee with the mayor pro tem, the M&F chair. So if you wanted to do it, I would just say set up the parameters. I think you'd probably want to say, if we're going to have it next Monday at the meeting, that you want to have your letters of intent. If you wanted to, you don't even have to do that, but if you wanted to say who's going to be interested for that, but it would be that limited period of time from November 2nd to December 4th, because your rules and the charter requires you pick a new mayor pro tem for the following year on December 4th.
Second?
Can I just ask I'm sorry.
Councilmember Lawson.
I'm sorry. Can I just ask a procedural? So if you're the interim mayor pro tem, can you finish out serving on your committees?
I would say yes.
Because it's only pretty, I'm just saying it's only one, but I'm just asking the procedural piece.
I think you're assigned to that committee, and you would be the mayor pro tem at that point. I don't think there's an avenue to change those committee assignments.
Okay.
So I think if there's no objection of council, that if you're the new mayor pro tem for the interim, that you can stay on your council committees to finish out until December 4th. I think that would be appropriate.
Okay,
Okay.
just asking.
Any objection?
Mayor Gardner,
Councilmember Gardner.
just for council's informational purposes, myself, the mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem Zvonek met last Friday and have recommendations coming forward to council. So what Pete brought up really is not relevant because we've already met to provide recommendations to council.
That's true. I don't think we have anything else left for the committee.
There is, without getting into it, there's a couple things that'll be coming to that committee, but it's not going to be related to evaluations.
I guess, okay. So I think there's a question whether we need a temporary mayor pro tem appointed.
So
Or
on the
just go
November 4th council meeting agenda, I'll put that as an item for council to vote on, if you want to move forward with that.
Okay.
But can I ask a question?
Councilmember
I know
Lawson.
you guys have discussed that, but if there's an intent for someone who wants to do it, people can still put their name in, right? Just because you've chosen people.
Well, I think if we decide here,
But I'm saying from what Councilmember Gardner said, you guys have discussed it and you have some recommendations. But if someone wants to do it, that is not in your recommendation.
no, that, we don't have recommendations on mayor pro tem. Yeah, Councilmember Gardner.
That's not what I was saying. I said we have already provided recommendations for salary increases for the council appointees.
Okay, sorry, Councilmember Gardner.
Yeah, so that we've done that. And so I don't think we have reason to revisit that between now and the end of the year.
It's up to you all if you thought that
Okay.
you needed to.
No, I mean, I personally don't think we need to appoint, I would just soon go for the permanent mayor pro tem and not have a temporary in there. I don't think there's a value.
You guys can choose that. Yep.
There's no workshops coming up, and that's probably one of the bigger things that the mayor pro tem does in terms of setting that workshop schedule.
Committee assignments.
Yeah, policy committee assignments. So I would say, well, let me ask, is there any objection to not appointing a temporary mayor pro tem and just going for the permanent? And that would be on what date again?
December 2nd.
December 2nd, sorry.
Okay, then on December 2nd, we would hold the vote for the permanent?
Correct.
Okay.
And
Is there
then-
any objection to that? Okay, that's the direction we'll take then.
Also in the backup, we have an application for your review. If there's anything council would like to add or take off that application, please let us know now so we can open it tomorrow.
Okay. 7C, planning and zoning vacancy update.
Okay, so we have an item on here to reappoint 2
Oh,
members
7B, I'm sorry.
to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So if council is okay with moving forward with those 2 members. to reappoint? Yes.
Is there any objection to reappointing? Seeing none, then that's the direction we'll go.
Okay, and then we do have another vacancy for planning and zoning. One more vacancy that ends on December 31st, 2024. Then we also have 2 vacancies coming up for Aurora Housing Authority as of December 31st, 2024. And so this is for council to give us direction on how and when they want to do the appointment and interview process. Aurora Housing Authority has 2 vacancies. We've only received 1 application for that. And Planning and Zoning has 1 vacancy, and we've only received 2 applications for that.
Katie, if we get a memo to the council members in terms of, because I think the way that the ordinance, was it an ordinance, resolution, whatever, that it gave certain professional categories.
It does.
And so I think if members need to know and hopefully recruit individuals within our community who fit that criteria, because it's so important that we get that right. And so I really want to encourage people to do that. So if we could get that out there.
And within the application, it is required for the applicant to state what experience they have as per the ordinance. So affordable housing, finance, development, lived in affordable housing or experienced homelessness, and then board members with general background. So they have to list one of those on the
Okay.
application.
If we can get just a memo out to refresh everybody's,
Yep, and there is a memo in the backup in e-scribe as
Okay.
well.
yeah, Councilmember Drensky.
Yeah, some months back, I was bringing forward something to look at some of these boards and commissions and see, if we can condense, if we can, and this was on the agenda. I was asked to hold off on bringing it forward by Jason, who told me that you had a plan on what we're going to do. So when can we expect that to come
So if
forward?
you guys are ready for that discussion, we can bring that forward in November. You guys can have that and
Yeah,
talk about that.
I think
Okay.
we've been waiting for a while to talk about the boards and the commissions as a whole. So if we could bring that forward, that would be great, please.
I think this is probably, this one's, I think it's statutory. I think this is not an option
For the Aurora Housing Authority.
Well, yeah, not all of them. Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Councilmember Hancock.
I thought we had also discussed that on the Housing Authority, that there would be, I know are you going to remain as the liaison, or will there be some other council
No, I will be
member person?
on either myself or a designee, either one of the two.
That will remain
Is an
in
ex
case-
officio member of the board going forward.
Okay.
Okay.
And I do plan to sit on the board.
Okay.
Yes, Councilmember Coombs. Oh, Councilmember Bergen, I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, just Councilmember Jurenski brought up the different other boards and commissions, not these particularly, but yeah, I just wanted to say I thought I was going to be actually doing that a while back, but I don't need to be doing it, but I was interested also in looking at consolidating some of them. So whoever is going to take the lead on that, that's great. But I know it takes a lot of staff time, especially all these boards and commissions are in the evening, and a lot of people are not even showing up for a lot of these boards and commissions, as well as having difficulty filling vacancies. So I am interested in us moving forward with some plan.
Okay, further discussion on, I think, I'm sorry, let's see, where are we at?
So part of this is, I think, just to give you all, I think what Katie really wanted to do with the planning and zoning vacancy, so since you all are willing to reappoint the 2, that means we will have 1 vacancy on planning and zoning. That means we'll be 4 out of the 5 will be filled, so I think we're good in terms of a quorum on that. Probably a little more immediate on the Housing Authority, as they will have 5 members. These are the 2 vacancies that were coming up, so we'll probably work to prioritize those, getting those filled. This is as the mayor indicated in his comments, this is the first appointments that we're doing under the new ordinance that council passed earlier this year. So we'll try and figure out what we can do to just try and drive some interest to this. If you all could help us with that, getting more applications in, so you all have folks to consider for these appointments, because this is, again, I think they'll have 3 out of the 5 filled if we don't fill one of these. So that's just, I think, really our intent is to kind of make these aware that these are coming up at the end of the year, and we want to give you all time to review applications, interview if you would like, and then make your appointment.
Okay, do we have a projected date for interviewing? I mean,
So that's what I would like to see, if council would like to move forward with appointing and interviewing for planning and zoning this year, or Aurora Housing Authority.
planning and zoning, I mean, my druthers would be planning and zoning, because I think this is our first time under a new ordinance for the housing authority, and I think we need it's going to take a little bit more time to do that. So I'd prefer to do just planning and zoning this year.
Okay, so November 18th is what we have for council to determine who they would like to interview for planning and zoning. And then council conduct the interviews at a special study session on December 9th
For which one, I'm
for
sorry?
planning and zoning.
December 9th, okay.
And then,
That's a special called meeting, so that's adding a meeting to your calendar. And I'm seeing some,
we can also do it the other option is do it not on a Monday. We can do it on another day of the week, or you'd have to do it before an executive session, which would be determining, again, do you want to interview 2 or 3 people? That would be 2 or 3 hours, because it takes about an hour per candidate.
And Mayor,
Councilmember Jaworski?
we can't make that happen at the council meeting on Monday, December 2nd? Is that not enough time, or?
because that's where we're interviewing the
That's when
at-large
we're
council
interviewing.
members.
Council, yeah.
Gotcha.
Vacancy.
Okay.
So we could, again, it kicks out a little bit, but you all could conduct interviews for this before the meeting on the 16th, which would then have you appointing at the first meeting in January.
Okay.
I don't think we need to kill ourselves over all this.
Jessica, do you know when they typically are meeting right now? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot in terms of that one.
It's the second Thursday of the month at 5 p.m.
So if we were to appoint that first meeting in January, I don't think we would have missed their, I don't think we would have missed their January meeting, I guess is the point. So you all do have some time if you're there, if that's okay, sir.
Yeah, I'd go with, I mean, that'd be my preference, and that we do the Aurora Housing Authority after that.
Okay.
So Mayor,
Yes. Councilmember Bergen?
are you talking about doing the interviews on the 16th?
I'm sorry, Katie, interviewing on the 16th for?
For planning and zoning, right?
The one vacancy that we have for planning and zoning.
I don't want a special meeting during the holidays.
So again, so we do interviews on the 16th, we appoint the first meeting in January, and then, I'm sorry, I got that mixed up in my head. Janine reminded me that the planning and zoning meets on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday. Got to make sure I got the right smart person over there I'm asking. I've got too many of them, so there we go. So,
The first meeting appears to be January 6th.
yeah, and we're working through, and that's the next thing that'll be coming to you all in the coming.
For the planning and zoning?
Will be planning.
For voting on the planning and zoning.
So we're voting to appoint on January 6th.
Right.
If that's what you approve for your next year's calendar. And then next planning and zoning will be on the 8th.
And again, going back to, with planning and zoning, with 4 of the 5, even if we were somehow delayed in the appointment, they can carry on with 4 out of the 5. It would be probably a hardship if they had multiple weeks or month where they were running down a member, but being down a member for a couple weeks, I don't think is going to be a hardship.
Okay, then sometime in the first quarter, that we should be able to do the Aurora Housing Authority interviews and Aurora Housing Authority vote. January, February timeframe?
Yep. So we have council to determine candidates to interview during the December 2nd council meeting. December 16th study session, council will interview the candidates, and in January, they will appoint 1 member. And then in January, February timeframe, that's when we will start the interview and appointment process for Aurora Housing Authority.
Okay.
And the application process is available and online right now for Aurora Housing and Planning and Zoning.
Okay, great.
So if you all would like to, we can work with our city comms, and we'll get you all, something you all can push out on your social medias if you'd be, or your networks, just to see if you can help us get interest in applications for both the Housing Authority and Planning and Zoning.
So how many slots do we have for a Housing Authority, 2 or 3?
2.
2, good.
2, and we have 7 total members.
2, and what are the backgrounds again for the 2?
We don't have the backgrounds for the 2 that are open right now. They are not reapplying. They have not reapplied.
Oh, no, no.
He means whether, do these seats, like one of them has to be a lawyer, one of them has to be a finance intern?
It
No.
just says that one board member shall be in affordable housing, one shall be in finance,
So because this is the first time we're doing it, we
one
just,
shall be in development.
as they.
So as we get their applications in, we'll be able to see what, where they're at.
Okay.
in that category.
Okay. But we do have to fill specific slots.
Are there any other issues to brought before the study session? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene. What?
Can I give a real quick update?
Please.
Sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real quick, next Monday is our next council meeting.
Oh, that's right.
November 4th. That is the day before the election. We are, the city is hosting an election center with Arapahoe County. So this room is actually going to be a vote center, so there's going to be set up in here. So we're going to do our executive session upstairs on the 5th floor in Mount Albert, and then study session will, our recommendation is to go virtual for the study session because we don't have a room big enough for that. The regular meeting will be in person, but because the voting center's going to be down here, we were going to do executive session upstairs and then virtual for the study session on the 4th. Just want to give you all that heads up.
Anybody got anything else? Great. Thanks, everybody. 6:30.